Welcome to the New Teacher Talk podcast.
We are helping you find your passion,
Learn your craft,
and share your successes.
welcome everybody.
How's it going, Pablo?
It's going well. How you doing, Wes?
Pretty good.
Hey, we're back.
We're back.
Ready to attack.
Ready to
I don't even know.
attack.
It just rhymes.
I'm a
It just rhymes.
pacifist.
Yeah, well, you're good. All right.
All
You're
right.
doing well.
So what's on the docket today?
The docket today is essentially this isn't the actual title, but what I just want to ask you, what would you find in your perfect classroom? What is something, classroom of the future, classroom of today? What do you want?
Yeah.
Take yourself back to 89 or something like that. What would you want to see as a student in your classroom? And those
Yeah.
are the things we're talking about, and we're just going to have an open discussion about
about what
the
makes
perfect classroom, the perfect education.
learning environment.
We've had all the answers
Yes.
right now. Right.
But before we jump into that, let's just remind you to go to iTunes and subscribe. Send us a 5-star rating and review. That means so much to us. Please give us your feedback, and you can support us and interact with us. We're accessible human beings.
Please do. Please do. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
I think we have
so.
a post.
Yeah,
Facebook.
we got it all. We got
YouTube.
it all.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it started. So, just a little bit about the history. Everybody knows this, but we keep doing it, and it just seems like we're trying a lot of things in the classroom in terms of bringing in new furniture, which I think is a good idea.
Mhm.
Different
Flexible
levels,
seating.
flexible seating, different levels of seating.
Different heights of
Yes,
tables.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But we don't have but they seem like the same environment.
And
in the
people, I don't know if people are aware of that. In our district, in our region, that's popular. I don't know if people everywhere see that, but
Good point.
But in the last, I would say 3 to 5 years, there's been an influx of little button seating where it's like 6 inches off the ground. Counter height tables where kids can actually stand and relinquish their chair. So a variety of things around the height of seating for a variety of reasons. To allow choice, that's one. But also to allow different heights of students, almost like you can kind of create an amphitheater style effect. So the kids in the back sit at the higher or stand at the higher tables and they don't block other people's views. It creates a visual variety, which makes the classroom more interesting. But I digress.
No, I think that's fine. We're going to take this wherever it goes today. I think one of the main things is that it actually not necessarily allows the teacher, but makes the teacher move per se, because usually you have that front of the classroom deal going on, and that's why you structure your seats in rows. And so this way, backs are turned, like you're never. So if you want to address everybody, then you do so. Yeah. But you're just gonna have to gather attention and then let them go back to where they best learn. I think that's the idea of flexible seating.
Or develop signals. Everybody turn your chair towards me for the next 5 minutes.
Sure.
Versus in the old way, the traditional way, every seat is almost like bolted to the ground facing forward, as if every single critical moment is hearing from the teacher.
Or looking at that one spot, the sage on the stage kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that model goes back centuries, probably millennia. One source of knowledge imparting info to someone else.
I mean, I'm looking on my laptop and I have a picture here. I just wanted to show you. This doesn't work well on
I can
podcast,
see it,
but you see it. It's almost like a double wide or a double, a double room. Actually, and I was looking a little bit on this, that early on the structures were built off old Gothic style. Just the buildings were nice, high ceilings, and everything else. It's what was inside. They didn't know what really any other way was, but just to put somebody in front. Yeah. And they're just all rows.
They're rows. Yeah.
And this is from the early 1900s, if not before.
Yeah.
So, just very interesting. There is one thing, a little gadget I saw that I think I would have liked when I was a kid. And it was in a classroom. It was actually an after-school program that I went to and visited. this past couple weeks, and in the past couple weeks, and it was a little kind of rubber, not a string, but a little rubber piece that you actually attach to the legs as two round little pieces.
Yeah.
I'm a fidgeter, so I'm always like, I would have loved that on my.
It's like tension band.
It's like a band. There you go.
Could rest your feet on and kind
exactly.
Yeah,
and it doesn't make any noise.
In classroom last week.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any noise. It's just a band that just keeps you moving and the legs moving. And if you're a fidgety kid, you know, that's how kids fall out of seats, like, you know, all the time because they're a little bored. They need something to do. So
for sure,
that's just one little thing, but.
Yeah, the traditional kind of the lecture hall facing forward. I'm not exactly sure, other than, you know, one person having knowledge and dispensing it to other people.
Of course.
I'm not sure why it became so popular. I mean, but there are other learning environments. Like I was thinking about, as we were preparing for this, the history of apprenticeships, and where you would, for your vocational education, you would kind of attach yourself to a master craftsman, and you would work probably for free. I don't know. You would do kind of the lower tasks of the trade and work your way up. And they had kind of a developed system of, over years, you would gain the title of, you know, I don't know, journeyman, like I don't know, I forget the titles, but you work your way up so that you're able to go out and finally start your own business. But it was a well-crafted system, and that is definitely a learning environment, and it's different than the like college kind of academic learning environments and lecture halls. And looking back, I would rather be in close proximity to somebody who's doing something, and I would get a chance to do it. I would prefer that over a lecture hall, even though I like academic work. I do like that, but I don't like sitting in rows and just listening, unless the person's world-class, super amazing, like somebody that I've heard of and dreamt about. I would love to hear what they'd have to say about this. Most of my teachers, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and in the main idea there is the people that you want to see or listen to capture your attention in one way, shape, or form. And so that's super important. And I don't know that we are trained as teachers to do that particular thing. We're trained potentially, you know, I think all credentialing schools are not alike, right? And so in that case, how are they trained? Like, we don't necessarily know. We know we went through our credentialing programs, and sure, there's a lot of doing. The world is built on doers and innovation, right? We don't stand still.
Yeah.
But it seems like that education is a pocket that has stood still for a long time. But I feel like we're turning the corner a little bit, right? There's a lot of new and really cool things, at least in our district. That's what's happening. And a lot of the districts we talk to, or, you know, we get an opportunity to actually talk to other people and what's going on. And there's some really cool things going on in the States, at least. And
one thing that we saw this week and the last few weeks in our district is Story Angels. So it's not a learning environment that runs all year. It's more of a project. So like PBL, or project-based learning, where students go to retirement homes or senior residences and interview senior citizens, and they get their story. They go back to the school, write it up, turn it into a narrative, come back, have the senior citizen read their own story written by a student, and then they film it. And then they take that, they film it on their iPad. We have one-to-one devices. They film it on their iPad and take that home and then edit it and then come back a third time. So to me, this is kind of the magic around the third time. The kids are looking forward to seeing their senior citizen. The senior citizens are hopefully they're not tired and worn out by these kids.
Cases they are.
But they have a friendship and a bond that they didn't have. And it's doing something very unique in the learning environments compared to what I see, because you're giving this bond between generations, and something very, very valuable. And they're learning more just than reading and writing and listening and speaking. They're learning respecting your elders. They're learning these kind of, you know, deep lessons about what somebody's learned over their lifetime. Now, I make it sound really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I appreciate it more than the students who are fifth graders. I mean, there are things that I'm just standing there marveling at. And then the students are, I'm not sure they're able to soak it all up, but to have that as one of their learning experiences in their learning environment is great.
Oh, super! It's a super product that the students are creating over the course of time, and I think you're selling it short a little bit. I think in the end, when we have the final kind of community-based event where a lot of people do come out to kind of see and hear from or see the videos and the interviews, it's pretty touching, and I think a lot of the seniors are really glad that they were part of it. And in fact, we go back to some of the same retirement living places, and a lot of them are the same ones, and they just love telling their story. Yeah. And I think we learn something new every time we go there.
Oh, for sure.
So how about like grades and periods, meaning throughout the school day, or just or not just grades, but grade levels.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about necessarily just grades.
Oh, not letter grades.
Yeah.
But being in 6th grade, then 7th grade, and then 8th grade.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good way to mark time, I'll tell you that. I'm not sure.
It is.
I'm not sure it was a hugely successful education innovation. This is more an economical strategy for grouping kids into cohorts. And I mean, don't get me on a rant here, but I mean, it has little to nothing to do with what I know or what I'm able to do.
Correct.
I mean, because when I was in the 4th grade, I was reading at a 12th grade level. So,
that's the point. I mean, we're not going to put you in with a bunch of 12th graders, but do you have access to 12th grade curriculum or whatever you're apt to do? Why can't you go there?
And once I said that, I was like, now I don't know what my argument is, because as a 4th grader, I don't want to be in with 12th graders.
Right.
But at some point, if I'm able to access that like academic discussion around the topics of what I'm reading about, relegating me to talking to other 4th graders who aren't able to do that is in some ways a disadvantage. And I should be able to talk to people who are able to push my thinking.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I'm just saying, I think the grade system that we have based our schooling on, for the most part, is pretty flawed, but it's more of an economical system, I would say.
So let's go back. So what would be a lot more expensive? What would be the problem? So I could see some, but let's see if we can have some counter arguments to that.
Yeah, I think it was about grouping, and then once you're out of like a one-room schoolhouse, now I have to hire 2 teachers. Well, do I hire 2 who are good at the same grade level or the same age group or the same set of curriculum? No, I'm going to hire. You're putting me through a whole bunch of
no, because
trouble here.
No,
but let me finish. I think I could, if I was running a 2-room schoolhouse, I could potentially hire a math science teacher.
Yeah.
And like an English language arts social science teacher. Now I have 2 teachers in 2 different subject areas. Or I could hire a teacher who teaches all subjects to the younger kids, and then all subjects to the older kids.
Look at you work it out.
Yeah.
See?
Now you add 300, 400, 500, 600, 1,000 students, and you stop caring down to the individual student what their needs are. You're like, you know what? I got 80 that need this, and so there's 20 that don't, but I'm just going to lump it in, and I have 5 periods of 20 kids. So it becomes a mathematical, like a formula you're trying to work out. And then to me, that's where you get into the economics.
I see. I think that maybe part of it that system is a little flawed. Now, what else can you do to iterate or to what can you do to innovate there? How about at some level, you don't need to go all the way through, let's just say, you don't need 7th grade math, whatever that is, which is traditionally pre-algebra. Okay. You don't need 8th grade math, which is algebra.
Right.
Per se. Let's just say you made that decision.
Yeah.
What's to say that we're not just figuring out what their strengths are and then eliminating some things based on choice?
Yeah.
Because in some cases at the elementary level, students aren't doing social studies every day.
Right.
But that's by choice.
Right.
right?
Teacher
by
choice.
The teacher choice. Or even school choice, depending on if they have pacing guides and you've got so much time, XYZ, you fill it with whatever you want, but you must do language arts and reading and writing every day and mathematics every day.
Right.
Outside of that, science, hit it 3 times, maybe in the week, maybe twice, maybe not at all.
Yeah.
But so who structures that?
Yeah.
Right. So why can't we do a similar thing, like actually allow kids to choose?
You could.
I mean, it could be part of it.
You could. You'd have to give up control, and you'd have to be ready with some sort of flexible delivery of a mechanism for delivering these opportunities or tracking them. So there was a school that I was working with in another district, and their goal was students would walk into kind of the front lobby of the school, and there'd be a bank of TV monitors like the airport, and instead of flights, it would be learning opportunities. And the students would walk in and they would have on their tablet or device, their mobile device, they would say, you should be working on like algebraic thinking or whatever it is. I'm not a math teacher, so I struggled there. But and they just look up at the board and they go, oh, well, at 9:00 I can go hear from Mr. Henderson. He's going to be talking about that. That fits my need. I'm going there. I choose that learning space. And the idea is every day it updates, just like an airport. It's always changing. There's always different, planes going to different destinations.
Flights are canceled.
Yeah, this teacher's out sick. So the idea is the student walks in, and they're like, what's on my path today? Where am I going on my journey? Instead of, I know I'm going to go sit in the same room, in the same desk, next to the same people, and, do the same routine. So it injects novelty, it injects personalization. Yeah.
I mean, I don't propose that teachers do this individually. I think there needs to be an environment, there needs to be an ecosystem that the district supports.
Yeah.
I don't expect teachers just to, and some are figuring it out themselves, but I think we all need to be on the same team, moving in the same direction on this. So it's just a discussion, and I really think that we can do some of these things. It's, I talked about the ship starting to move and turn a little bit or head in that direction, but it's slow moving for sure. It's definitely not something that's going to happen overnight, because traditionally that's a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah. And then when you change and so if you're going to change and go in another direction, think of it like a horse. I don't know if you ride a horse, but you have the reins. And if you want to change directions, that means you have to tighten one rein and slacken the other rein. And so that means ultimately to make that turn, you're going to have to loosen up on some things that you held dear, and you're going to lose a little bit of control. And then people start feeling vulnerable and a little bit out of their element because they're not sure, we're letting go of this, but that was something I was good at, or I prided myself on. And so then that's where change becomes hard for people because of that kind of sketchy area where you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you have to push through that. And there's a space where you're like, you know what? I don't know the outcome.
Right.
I'm doing this with the best intentions of serving the needs of students. And when you have a team or a district or a school that can talk through these issues and say, let's make some change for a better future, then, people can get into that space. There's a good organization up in Northern California, Summit Public Schools. And I had the opportunity to go kind of sit, they do I forget what they call it, but it was kind of like a week-long orientation for their teachers, but they invited anybody in the country who wanted to come sit with them and talk about their various elements of their learning model. And the great thing is they would have these team meetings like regularly. What's working, what's not working, let's scrap that, let's change this, let's do X number more minutes of this. And just to hear them talk through it, it was like you were literally in a research environment or like a lab where they're actually working on perfecting or improving the learning model, versus we usually kind of launch in September and we're like, we're going to land this ship in June intact. That's typical.
And then we're going to send it right back the other way
a
few months later.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap up and finish, I guess just kind of flow off what we were just talking about. But we are still, in most places, most schools, most of these educational environments are the same. We still have high stakes testing to account for, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, or really at the end of the year, every student is basically given a number.
Yeah.
Whether it be in math, whether it be in their language arts class or whatever, their reading or writing class, they're given a number. And that's what we hold. We might not hold it near and dear, but it's definitely something that everybody points to.
And they examine it and they spend time. And
a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of effort goes into like, what are we going to do based on that one day?
Yeah. Crazy.
It baffles my mind.
Yeah.
It baffles my mind. Like, I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction where we've talked about competency-based grading. I think people are doing it and trying it, and I think are finding some success. But at the end of the day, it's like we go right back, because at the end of the year, we still have that test. It's not like I do all of this, and I think I'm still like, if I was in the class, I'm preparing my kids for that, or to be ready, just not maybe to be test ready, meaning that test. I don't know. I'm really bothered.
We had good momentum.
Yeah, we did.
Momentum, and then you went there.
I did, but it's part of it, right? It's part of what a good classroom, a good education is. It's not just about testing. It's about moments. It's about experiences. You talked about a lot of those.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of what we talked about were all of those things that, like, those are fascinating things that we should be doing in our schoolhouses, in our school. Why did I say schoolhouse? You said schoolhouse earlier. Now it's on my head. But they had it right, I think, a little bit at the start. They had the one teacher who had kindergartners and 12th graders in their class, if you want to name them by that. And they were doing it. Like, was it good? Was it great? Who knows? But they were doing it, and then we just flipped the switch. Like, no, we're going to line them up. We're going to put them in these categories, and we're going to send them off for 12 years of school. It just needs to change. And that's what I think this podcast is about, is to bring up these ideas and discuss them.
Let's take so you have the one-room schoolhouse with kindergartners to 12th graders. So instead of adding another teacher and saying, I'm going to go K5, 6, 12, and separate the students by age, because surely that's an obvious way to divide them, because you see the K5 have more similar needs around literacy. Like we see like, you can't decode. Let's get all the kids who can't decode. Let's work on that skill. And that's true for covering content. However, there's other ways to do it, where you can have the older students mentor the younger students and have them responsible for teaching, which actually, I know from experience, helps you learn the material better. So if you're having a 5th grader help a kindergartner learn to read, or a 6th grader help a 2nd grader learn to read, they're actually going to improve their reading ability. They're not going to be less of a good reader. They're going to be a more astute reader. Their decoding is going to be far advanced because they've actually invested that time. But no, we said, let's separate by age, because within those age groups, we can see their similar needs. But we neglected the fact that you can actually learn more and take your education further when you're teaching somebody. So.
Well, yes.
Thanks for stirring the pot.
Yeah. Well, this is a good thing. It's a good thing. So lastly, this is a very hypothetical question. And I know I think I'm asking all the questions and I'm having you answer them. So I can chime in. But this has been a good discussion for me, at least to get this off my chest. And this might not even be a fair it is a polarizing question in my head, but I don't know if it's a fairly weighted question.
Yeah.
So if the majority, let's just say 80% of the time, which is a dumb number, but at least it allows you to, like, oh, this is really being highlighted. If you had kids from the get-go being involved or being in an environment that was really 80% of the time they were focused on critical thinking.
Okay.
versus, I'll even put 2 on the other side, reading and writing.
Yeah.
And again, people, I am not opposed to teaching kids and having instruction for reading and writing, but these are polarizing things.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're doing a really great job at critical thinking, but it's such a powerful tool, thing that you need to live really your life if you're going to live it at a high level, I think. What would you lean towards?
Critical thinking. I'll tell you why.
Tell me why. And again, it's
in
just
the past,
hypothetical.
In the past, all of our knowledge was archived in printed text.
Okay.
And with the rise of the internet and, for example, a media server like YouTube, where billions of videos are stored, that is the new cultural base of knowledge. And it's not print text, it's video. And if I can read a book to get information in the past and now I can watch a video, language is being delivered to me in both cases.
Sure.
But what's more stimulating, and it has nothing to do with like one's better than the other, but what's more stimulating to a human being is to be talked to and to listen and to make eye contact and look at somebody's affect, their passion, their excitement. And that will always, always, always be of more benefit to more people more of the time than printed text. Printed text existed because video was not yet invented. It's not better. It was just an earlier form of, storing communication or storing knowledge. So for me, if you go, I don't need to teach reading and writing because that's actually outmoded. It's outdated. It's last year's technology, last century's technology, or 50 years ago, we started to move into video. So when I think about those, I don't need to teach reading and writing because as long as people have access to language, oral language, the video it's the new library. YouTube is the new library.
Nice. Well stated. Boom.
Boom.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. New teachers, you're listening. Veteran teachers, you're listening. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Instagram.
We could be all wrong.
No, I think we're on to something. And I think a lot of people out there are as well.
Yes.
We just need to band together.
Yeah.
And let's get this thing going. Educating our kids.
Yeah.
Getting them thinking.
Yeah.
Love those kids out there.
Yep.
Love them.
All right.
We're done. You got something to say?
Find us on the socials and hit us up and leave a review and all that good stuff.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Connect with us on social media at Pablo and Wes.
On Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and all the podcast places on the web like
iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Overcast.
And remember to get your free special gift at
pabloandwes.com/gift. Yay!